What's up, and welcome to Unspoken Conversations. I'm James Crow, and here we talk about issues and situations that are in plain sight. Things that people hate to talk about, but it needs to be said, from relationships, families, friends, and life. Our goal is to shed light and understanding so that just maybe we can start to rebuild relationships, families, and ultimately, our communities. What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode. In this episode, I want to talk about raising kids and what I've learned from raising kids. And this one may be a little long, but I'm going to try to keep it short. But we know how that goes. So, I've raised a total of 6 kids in the house with me. 3 of them, my biological, and the age range is between 28 and 11. So everything else falls in between there. And something that I learned about raising kids is, no matter what you do, they're all different. You raise all of them different. That first one is almost like I fucked up. I did this wrong. I'm trying to get it right. I did this wrong. Well, when that second one comes, you kind of start feeling like, okay, this is, I'm getting a lot better with this. I know what not to do with this one because I learned it from the first one. Kind of works like that. But by the time that third one comes, you about got it under wraps. That first one went through a lot of trial and error. So in most cases, you did do a lot wrong. And that kid sometimes goes through a lot of trauma because they're the oldest. They were the practice baby, typically. But something that I learned from this is the oldest one, maybe this is just me. Maybe it's just me. That oldest one is the one that rebels the most, but because they went through the most. And they went through the most because they didn't have the best or the proper training, because you yourself were learning. Doesn't matter who you had around you. They're not always going to listen. Kids are not always going to listen to you. They're going to want to do what they want to do. They're going to want to go where they want to go. And this is from an adolescent age on through teens, 20s. And when they get a certain age, you can't do nothing about it. You just got to let them be and let them do what they're going to do. Ain't nothing you can do about it. But my point is, no matter how much love you give them, no matter how much teaching and preaching you do, at the end of the day, they're going to want to go their own way. But again, as they get older, what's going to happen is that rebellion stage, when they get into that rebellion stage, there's going to be nothing you can tell them that's right. They're going to try to test you. There's nothing wrong with testing you, because sometimes in order for them to learn how to be better than you, which is what all kids are supposed to do, all kids are supposed to eventually get to a stage where they're better than their mother or father. That's cool. That's how it's supposed to be. So they're going to test you, and you have to allow your kids to be able to test you to an extent. Not disrespectful test, but test you in a point to where it makes you think, damn, they figuring life out. And if your kid can figure it out by testing you a little bit and they can get it right, they're going to get some things wrong. And that's okay. Don't put too much pressure on them when they get it wrong. But if they get it wrong and then they come back to you blaming you, this is something that's going to weigh on you as an adult. I don't mean an adult, weigh on you as a parent. Because now your kid, male or female, is taking out on you something that they got wrong. And it ain't always that you taught these kids this specific thing. So because they rebelled and did that, or they just happen to do that, this is something that you got to learn to live with, because this is a lesson that they have to go through with or without you. And it's sad that it's got to be like that, but it is what it is. You're either going to listen or you're not. You're going to find people to listen to. You're going to find people not to listen to. You got to be very mindful of who you listen to as a kid. If you're not listening, and you choose to, I don't want to say disobey. I don't want to say not be obedient. Those ain't the words I want to use. If you choose to go your own way and learn your own lessons, you're going to have a hard ass life. Imagine trying to learn how to play baseball and learn all the rules on your own. not watching no tapes, not watching no recordings, not watching nobody else play, just trying to learn the game by yourself in a field all by yourself. Imagine that. And a lot of these kids nowadays, they're trying to get out here and they're trying to learn life based on what they think they know of their past growing up as a kid without asking any questions to figure out where they got here. Here. You ain't learning nothing about your past. You ain't learning nothing about your dad, about your mom. Not only are you not learning, you ain't asking questions. If you don't ask questions, how do you know why you think the way you think? You don't know. So, I don't know. I find that as these kids get older, the world is shaping them. The world's shaping them, especially from the age of about 13 to about 27 years old. And as long as the world is shaping your kid, there almost ain't shit you can say about it. Almost nothing you can say about it. And why? Because the internet and the people at the schools, the people at work, all these people have influence over your kid once they're at the age, well, at any age, at any age, basically. But the longer your kid stays away from you, the longer somebody else is influencing your kid from middle school on through the time they move out of your house. The things that they see on social media right now, they're walking around with a phone in their hand, in their pocket. Everything they learn on social media, most likely, ain't what you've been teaching them. It ain't what you've been teaching them. The things in the generation right now, the things that we've been taught didn't come from the internet. We've been taught from real life situations. Now these kids is learning everything from Instagram, from Facebook, from Snapchat, from all these different platforms, not understanding that a lot of the stuff they see on here is fake. It's made up for content. It's to get people views and likes. So a lot of the things that people are seeing, they don't even know that what you're being programmed. There's nothing wrong with being programmed as long as the program ain't bullshit. And a lot of people don't know how to do the right research to figure out whether you are or not being swindled. Here's what it is. Some of us were swindled growing up, but for the most part, we learn through trial and error. A lot of the kids now is learning from the internet, not through trial and error. So then these same kids get to be a little bit older and then they come thinking that they know something because they learned it on the internet. Everything that they found was on a fucking device. Everything was on a device. They ain't been through shit. So the things that we've been through as a slightly older generation and the people who come from us, who taught us what they learned, we have a different way of thinking. Trial and error. The ones that haven't been through trial and error and they got that different mindset, you can't tell them shit. Or think about, for the people over 30 years old, over 35 years old, put it like that, over 35 years old, because there's some 30-year-olds that's still dumb as fuck. But that's not what we're talking about. Think about, if you're over 35 years old, whatever you was taught, ain't that how you raise your kids? Internet didn't have much to do with that. You were taught a certain way and you learned a certain way and now you live a certain way. And in most cases, you've gotten better than your parents. Most likely, you've gotten better. And then your parents were supposed to get better than their parents. So it just trickles down. Move that. Get away from these 35 and older people and go down to your kids, right? Anybody, think about this. Anybody from the age of, I say, 27, 30 years old and below. Think about it. I'd say all the way down to like 18 years old when a person could, or 21 maybe, put it that way, who can actually get an apartment. How many of these kids actually have their own apartment? And what age are they? Now, how old were you when you got your own place? If you're an adult, in your late the 30s and above. How old were you when you got your first place? How old were you when you had a kid? At what age did you become an adult with a family and your own shit, own car, payments, loans? At what age did you become an adult? Meaning not a grown person over the age of 18, but someone who was in charge of other people and having to raise kids, having to be a parent, having to go to work and take care of everything. At what age were you when that happened? Now you take your kid, whoever's below 30 years old, and you put them, of course, above 15, where they can actually work. You get what I'm saying? And establish a footprint in the world. At what age did your kid get their home? Or have they yet? Or moved out? Or have they yet? Got their first car? Or have they yet? How old was these kids? See, what I'm saying is the kids right now that are in between 25, I say between 20 and 30, 33 years old. The majority of them don't have nothing that they live for. They like doing what they like doing, but they ain't established nothing. And it's not to say that it's bad, but when you actually break it down, they're stuck in a see and they do what they see. Where we were stuck in of, you're going to do what I tell you or you're going to get your ass beat and you're going to get left behind. So some of us who are above the age of 40, some of us, we have a way of seeing things because we done been whooped into shape. Now we do things based on what we was taught. These kids do not learn the same way. That's the reason you have more gamers now, which gaming ain't bad, but what else are you doing with your time? You got more people sitting in the house not doing shit, which ain't bad, but what are you doing with your time? You get what I'm saying? He don't have multiple cars. When I was a teenager, I had multiple cars. And I had multiple cars. Everybody, of course, ain't like me, but my point is, it's a different generation. And the generation of these kids right now, it's like they don't thrive to have bigger and better than their parents did. And that's why the majority of them, I ain't gonna say the majority, I can't say the majority. That's why so many of them still live at home with their parents. They don't have the drive and the thrive to want to get out and get better than what they saw. We had no choice. Us older people, 40s and above, we had no choice. We wasn't given those new cars. Hell, I'm seeing kids right now in their teens getting better cars than a lot of adults in their 30s and 40s years old. That's doing a lot. It's doing a lot. And it's not that it's bad, but these kids nowadays don't have the same struggle. Therefore, they don't have the drive to want to get out there and get it. So the fact that they were entitled in many cases, man, you can't tell them shit. Can't tell them shit. Can't teach them shit. They want to learn what they want to learn. And the problem that I have is I can spend so much time helping kids with cars, helping kids with their thinking, with ways of thinking, teaching them how to be at peace with things, trying to anyways, teaching them how to slow down, don't react, just chill out, think before you speak, and then when you're able to speak, then speak. But don't speak while you're embedded in your feelings. Wait. You could spend all this time trying to teach these kids this, trying to show these kids a better way of moving and how to react to certain things. And they think you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And it mind boggles me for a kid to go through the things that they go through. And it's as if it's all for nothing. Because at some point, they stop talking to you. They stop coming around. They don't do for their parents at all. Imagine when you're old enough to be in a nursing home or something. They damn near forget about you when they hit their 20s. From what I'm saying, of course, not all kids. Not all kids. There are some kids out here who come around their parents day in and day out in their 20s. Some even in their 30s. They come around their parents all the time. But what I'm saying in most cases is when kids hit their mid to late 20s, yeah, these motherfuckers want to live their life. They want to get out there and do the things that they want. They don't call their parents. They don't check on their parents. I remember riding by my mom's house every day after work, and I would take that direction home just so I could stop and take her trash out or stop and check on her, see if her car was dirty. Mom, you need gas in your car? I'd stop and look at her gas tank just to see if her car needed gas. And I'd park my car on hot days, cold days, take her car to the gas station, put gas in her car and bring it back home so she didn't have to. And I didn't even live with my mom. I lived a few blocks away. But I took that route home to make sure she was cool. And my dad was still living there. Her and my dad was still living together. Think about that. How many of y'all kids is doing that? How many of you kids is doing that for your mom or your dad? You know what I mean? Excuse me, some of y'all's father mother is sick and can't get up and do it, and y'all won't go check on your parents. Y'all call once a week, not even once a week. There's some of y'all's parents who's sick. Y'all won't call for months on end. Y'all wait for the other siblings to call and tell you what's going on with your mom and dad. That's sad as hell. It's sad as hell. Imagine not having a phone. Would you still do that shit? Would you not come around? You know what I mean? It's sad to be able to have to. It's sad to have to answer your kids' calls every time they call, because the majority of times they call, they're calling with a problem. This is broke. That's broke. Got a question about this, question about that. It's not, I'm not complaining. It's not a problem, but it's sad too. As a parent, you want to be there to help your kid. It's sad to have to do these things as a parent. But the moment you make that call or send a text, crickets. And that shit just, it mind boggles me when I sit back and I think of all the kids that I've raised and all the time that I invested, all the talks that I've had with them, all the lessons that I was given that I try to pass on to some of these kids, not even all mine. Some of them got kids, and some of them other people's kids that I done called nieces and nephews and try to sit with them and talk to them. All these talks that I've been given to me from my mom and uncles and aunts. And then I try to take these lessons and pass them on to somebody else. And the majority of these kids think you're preaching and teaching and they don't want to hear it. That's sad. That's sad. But how it goes is a lot of these kids going to end up in situations where they could have been okay, but because they didn't want to hear it, now they got to learn their way. And it's sad it's got to be like that. It's sad it's got to be like that. In my opinion, fathers get it worse than mothers. Doesn't mean everybody. Of course, there is exceptions to the rule. But my point is, in my opinion, from what I've seen, fathers get it worse than mothers. Now, I do know some men who got custody of their kids and the mother was never around. Therefore, this don't apply to them. I know some of them, but I know way more men who didn't get custody of their kids. The mother did. And everything that them kids felt about the dad most likely came from some type of something being said from the mother, from the auntie, from the mom's side of the family, friends, and everybody else of the mother. Not always, but most of the time. Them kids picked up a lot of hatred or resentment for dad, especially if dad wasn't able to or dad wasn't coming around. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but what I'm saying is I've seen this numerous times. That dad can fight. He can do all he can to see his kids. And in most cases, he is at the mercy of the mother. He better hope like hell he had a good relationship with their mother. If he didn't, he's screwed. Child support, alimony, all that shit that's going to take away from his pockets is going to stop him from being able to do anything with the kids. Now, I'm not going to get into that because there's a whole system that I hate talking about. I don't want to say I hate talking about. I don't want to get into it because that whole system, I'm going to stay away from that. This ain't about that anyway. As far as these kids, it is sad to see kids grow up. And I remember sitting back thinking, kids used to always see, and I'm not condoning it, but what I'm saying is you used to always see kids about, I say between 18 and 23 years old, pregnant, having kids, getting together, relationships, ready to have a family. Shit. Now, I don't know. I think I bumped into my niece today, and she's not my biological niece, but I call her my niece because my sister raised her, helped raise her. I'll put it that way. She lives in my sister's house. Now, as she's pregnant, I'm learning that she's one of the only people that I know that's around her age that's pregnant. And when you think about that, like think about all these kids out here who's in their mid to late 20s that ain't having kids. It's as if they don't even want to have kids no more. And that's besides the point. It's not about that, but think about what's going on. What's really going on is people want to live for themselves. They don't want to live to raise kids. I get it. But if they want to live for themselves, this goes back to what I was just saying about your parents. These kids ain't taking care of their parents. They ain't going to go check on their parents, mowing their parents' grass. Some are taking the trash out, and they ain't shoveling the sidewalk and the driveway. I did all that shit for my mom and dad because it was how I was raised. It's what I seen. I saw this. So I saw the neighbors doing it. These kids nowadays, they can see their neighbor out there shoveling. They ain't shoveling at old age. They ain't going to go help these damn neighbors. They stand on that video game. They're standing in that room doing whatever the fuck they doing. They ain't going out there in that cold. That's the difference. How often do you see kids climbing trees? Not saying they don't, but how often? You see what I'm saying? So kids are raised completely different, and now that they're raised completely different, and there's so many different laws than it was before, shit, you can't even stay on your kid's ass no more without somebody saying your parent is this, your parent is that, your parents raised you. It's a bad place. It's a bad place. It's a bad place, and it is sad. It is sad to be a parent and feel used and abused by your own kids because they want what they want and they need what they need. But when you want and need something, they come around when they want. That shit's sad. That shit's sad. Especially when you know you've invested into some of their happiness, some of their lives, when you've made sacrifices. Mother and father, when you've made sacrifices for the betterment of these kids, made sure they had a room, a house where they've had their own rooms, giving them food to eat, made sure they wasn't going hungry and stuff like that, made sure they had clothes, not only that they wanted, but that they needed. It's hard as hell when you sit back and you think about all these sacrifices. And then in the end, I don't even want to say in the end, but as you get older, you start realizing that my kids, I did all this for my kids. What the hell will they sacrifice for you? Sad when you really think about that. You know what I mean? Can you call your kids? Doesn't matter who you are. Some of y'all can, but can you call your kid who's over 25 years old and be like, hey, can you come take my car to the gas station? I'll give you $30. Just put $30 in it. Can you call your kid and get him to come over here? Male or female, son or daughter, I mean, and get your kid to come over and take your car to the gas station? I ain't talking about if you're sick. I ain't talking about if you can't walk. I ain't talking about if you can't do it yourself. I'm saying you can be a fully functioning adult. You can be able to get up and go out there and do it. My point is can you call your kid right now over the age of 21 and tell your kid, hey, would you take my car, go put some gas in it? Are you going to have to answer questions? Why you need me to do it? Just because I wanted you to. I asked you to. You're going to have to answer them questions. All right, give me the money. You going to have to pay for it? Or would your kid take care of that for you? My mom didn't have to pay. If I took my mom's car to the gas station, I put the gas in there. I'd give her money back. And there's times where she wouldn't take the money, so I had to hide the money in her room here and there. She'd find the money sometimes. Where does $30? Where does $40 come from? Because I hid it back in her room. I used my own money to pay for the gas. Not only would I pay for the gas, I'd wash her car up for her. Again, this is a different day and age. I can't think of not one time where my sons have ever taken their mother's car to the car wash and washed it and to put gas in it just to make sure it's something she didn't have to do. Can't think of not one time. Not one time. I can't think of not one time where my daughters would have wanted to do something for me or their father without being asked. I can't think of it. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying the amount of sacrifices that some of us made who are above the age of 40, the amount of sacrifices that we made for our mother and father, going in the kitchen and helping them cut up food and stuff like that. Are these kids doing that shit? I'm talking from teenagers on up into their mid to late 20s. Are they coming over? Are they helping you cook? Are they helping you do things? They see you mowing the yard. They know you got to mow the yard. Will they get out there and help? You know what I'm saying? These kids nowadays just ain't the same, man. And it makes you really look back on the sacrifices that you made and be like, why did I do this? Why did I make those sacrifices? Why did I put my kids first and foremost? And I put me on the back burner for kids who not only not 100% respect you, but in a lot of cases won't call and check on you. They come around when they want and need something. Again, and it's not to complain. It's just to say, when you sit back and you think about it, Is this what y'all see? Am I the only one saying this? You get what I'm saying? And I ain't talking about only my kids. I'm saying a lot of other people's kids. I'm saying the same shit with a lot of other people's kids too. So think about that. That's crazy. I learned a lot of shit from a lot of these kids, and a lot of these kids is nowadays living more for what they want. I remember getting to a point to where I seen my mom struggle, and I decided I was gonna get me a pack and go make some money so I can help my mama pay rent. I can't think of not one kid who's paying their mama's rent, daddy's rent. What kid you know from teenager to late 20s is paying their mom and daddy's rent when they see their mom and daddy struggling? Who you know do it? I think about my nephews. I love my nephews. I don't talk no bad shit about my nephews, but I got a sister, and my youngest sister, not my sister who died, my youngest sister. I think about her having all boys in her house, and there's no reason that my sister has to pay rent or mortgage. There's no reason. With that amount of boys living in the house with her, her bills should stay paid because they're all grown. And even the ones that ain't fully grown, they right there on the edge. So even them can get a job cutting grass or at a grocery store just bagging up bags. There's no reason my sister should have to struggle with that many boys living in her house. 4 boys in the house, not to mention whoever she may be dealing with. There's no reason my sister should be struggling. And it just goes back to what I'm saying. These kids nowadays, they live for themselves. They don't make the sacrifice to do nothing for their mother, their father, for their other siblings. They want to have fun, but they don't want to sacrifice for nobody else. And that's the thing I'm talking about. That's what's different in today's day and age. And this shit's crazy. It's crazy to me. I get it. I get it that everybody wants to live their own way. I don't like it. But it is what it is. But sit back and watch it and watch. See how much you sacrifice for your kids. I know people that I talk to on a daily that want to do things for their kids. And my cousin, me and him had a conversation, and he said he wanted to build cars, to fix up and build cars for each one of his kids. Now that sounds good. In theory, that sounds good. The problem is, if these kids are not car kids, they're not car people. Imagine the amount of time and money and the effort and the sacrifices that he makes to do all this. And in the end, these cars end up wrecked, thrown away, parked, forgotten, flat tires, blown engines, burnt transmissions, and they're not going to get these things fixed and keep riding the vehicles simply because they're not car people. Imagine that. Now, it's not to knock his idea. It's not to knock him as a father, because I get it. I know what it's like to want to do things for your kids. I got cars that I want to give to my kids too. But in my mind, if they're not moving in life like they're worthy of the sacrifice that I made to put this vehicle together, they're not getting it. I'd sell this shit first. I'd sell it first. I would give it to another person who I know is worthy of this before I gave it to my kids, who I know would not take care of it, throw it away, mistreat it, because it's nothing to them. So those sacrifices, to me, those sacrifices need to be well thought out. Well thought out. And the problem is it worth it? So, yeah, I really wanted to talk about that. I really wanted to touch bases on that because I'm seeing so much going on with these kids, and it drives me crazy to sit back and think of how many kids ain't taking care of their mother and their father. They're literally living their life the way they want to live their life, and they don't care who they drain on this path. They don't care who they drain. They don't care that they're leeching, like literally leeching. They're taking everything that they can get that benefits them from somebody else, most likely the parents. At some point, when they get to a point to where they want to go to college, whether they want to go get another job, whatever, if they ever can't pay their rent, who do they turn to? Not always. Not always. If they ever crash a car, who do they turn to? If they ever mess up an engine, transmission, who do they turn to if they don't have the money? All those sacrifices tend to go unseen. And that shit is crazy to me. If you're a parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you done lived long enough to see your parents have to see your kids have to come to you to get the things that they need in order to survive. If you've lived long enough, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You can acknowledge what I'm saying. To you kids who've never had kids, you might need to listen to this and take heed, because you unleashed on somebody, whether you like it or not. You done called somebody for some support or some help or something when you couldn't do it for yourself. And somebody made the sacrifice for your ass. And how do you treat that person? Do you call them? Do you go by? Stop and see him? Take him a pop on a hot day. Take him a water on a hot day. Like, hey, I know you out here struggling. I know you out here slaving away, working in this concrete or whatever, you know. I just wanted to stop by and see you, make sure you had something to drink. Here you go for all the sacrifices you done for me, working on my car when it's hot. Work, you know, paying my rent when you didn't have to. Y'all kids done did that shit? Absolutely fucking not. And that's what I'm talking about. It's crazy, man. It's a crazy day and age. And this is getting long, so I'm going to cut this right here. But think about this. And if you know anybody else that might need to hear this, send it to them. Let them listen to it. But until next time, have a good night.
They are so full of the cap, man. I can't take it, need to break it. If they ain't got it, you know they gon' fake it, cause